Hello, I'm Leroy Garcia, and this is Blue Rain Gallery Podcast. Today we're here at Blue Rain during Indian Market. It's a special podcast. Normally we don't do things like this, but here we go. We want to talk to this young lady. This is Helen Tindall.
Hi.
She's a fourth generation Santa Clara Pueblo painter. Um, why are you here? What are you doing?
Today I am doing a painting.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm doing a painting demo. I have 2 panels that are currently in process and a new one to start. So I'm out here to talk about my art and talk about my family and show people my painting process.
Tell us a little bit about your family.
So I am the 4th generation of the only female painting dynasty. Like you said, we are descendants from Santa Clara Pueblo. My great-grandmother was Pablita Velarde. She was born in 1918 in Santa Clara Pueblo. She was the first Native woman painter to paint full-time as a career. So she started her career learning under Dorothy Dunn and Tonita Pena when she was in school here in Santa Fe. She went on to paint for the WPA and then had a very successful career. My grandmother is Helen Harden. She started painting as a child and is partially to give credit to for transitioning Native art from the traditional flat style that people often refer to as the Bambi School to contemporary Native art as we know today. So her, Fritz Shoulder, T.C. Cannon, they're really this vanguard group. So she was the female leading the way to contemporary Native art. My mom, Margaret Bagshaw, was a modernist painter. She started in pastel and Prismacolor when she was young, and she became a very successful oil painter with a lot of inspiration from the Cubist modernist artists and her heritage from Santa Clara Pueblo.
And how do you see your next role here?
My next role, I'm continuing the legacy, but what they taught me most strongly was to love painting and be true to myself. We are not derivatives of each other. We are very true to ourselves in our time, and it's not just a family of the same art. Like, we are all very strong women who stand on our own, and
Yes.
that's how I carry on their legacy.
Right on. We'll keep it up, my sister.
Thank you.
Happy you're here with us.
Yes, me too.
Thank you.
Go Blue Rain.
So this is our executive director, Denise Feta Place. Tell us about how you deal with Indian Market.
How I deal with Indian
Yes.
market.
How is it for you?
Well, I take Indian market one day at a time with the knowledge that it's our busiest time of year. So, I mean, honestly, this is like old home week for Blue Rain Gallery. Lots of friends and family coming through, lots of old clients, artists. For me, it's really celebratory. And so I love catching up with everyone. I love talking about the work. I love seeing what our artists are creating, what's new. And, you know, it's a high energy time, but it's really rewarding and typically recharging.
Yeah. How many hours do you and the staff work? What does it take to pull off an Indian Market at Blue Rain? Describe that.
Well, honestly, half our year is spent preparing for Indian Market. So there's that. It takes everybody kind of working toward the goal. And then of course, when we're in the middle of it all, we have about a 2-week period, 2.5-week period where we're just all going a little above and beyond, you know, long days.
So like hours, how many hours a day are we working?
Probably about 12 hours a day this time of year, sometimes more. It just depends what needs to be done. But again, this is our time of year to to really sort of capture the crowd and take advantage of who's in town.
I have another question for you.
Yes.
As far as you and your staff, how physically, how is the physical part of this job as far as setting up stuff? What do you do? Tell us.
There is definitely a physical component to this business. Most people have the perception that the art business is very glamorous. And when we are producing events and it's showtime, it has that look for sure. But there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that no one ever really sees. And
Give us a brief description. Tell us. Just like 3 things. What are the 3 most important things that you can say that is so hard about this?
Well, the physical labor itself can be hard. We do a lot of moving of artwork on a continual basis. I would say we're probably one of the more ambitious galleries in town in terms of how frequently we move our displays. So we have a 9,000 square foot gallery, and we have about 55 artists that we work with on a regular and ongoing basis. And that's not to include all of the artwork that we have on the secondary market as well, which would actually, put us in the hundreds in terms of artists that we represent. So it's very physically demanding. We're constantly moving things. We're constantly every time we set up for a new show, which on average we produce 2 a month, it's a complete domino effect for the entire gallery. We do traveling exhibitions around the country as well to support what we're doing here in Santa Fe. And with the opening of our Durango location this past winter, we have had to manage the back and forth of inventory between the 2 locations. So that's a whole other space that we're now responsible for. But
what about the marketing?
The marketing. We are also one of the most ambitious marketers here in Santa Fe. I think that we, on average, we invest about $250,000 a year in print marketing alone, and then we have a very aggressive digital marketing campaign also. So it's a lot to manage. It's a lot to be responsible for and to stay on top of. But it's also what puts us in the forefront. I think Blue Rain is a destination in the Southwest, and it's because of all of the hard work that has gone on behind the scenes for years.
Well, I want to thank you, Denise, for all that you do. It's hard. It's not easy. And people, they come here, they don't see that. But yeah, there's a lot of physicality, a lot of marketing, a lot of everything. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I also want to thank you, Leroy, because, this is one of the best galleries in town, and it's one of the best galleries in the Southwest. So, being a part of it is a privilege, and being at the helm is a thrill. So, thank you.
Thank you too. Love you mucho. So we're going to be visiting the live demonstrations at Blue Rain Gallery for blowing glass. We do this every year. We've done it for 23 years. It's what's created the glass native art movement in the Southwest. It starts here. It starts with Preston Singletary and all our friends that we've met over the years. Today, blowing glass is Raven Sky River, Dan Friday, and Preston Singletary. Right now, we're going to visit and watch Raven produce maybe a horny toad in glass, which is pretty cool. He's one of the best figurative sculptors of all time in glass, especially with marine forms. So let's go ahead and give it a walk over and see what we're doing. So we're here watching Raven. He's starting the form of a horny toad, and it's assisted by Preston Singletary and Dan Friday, 3 of our superstars. And we'll just give you a sneak peek, and then we're going to talk to some collectors as well. Let's get some few thoughts by Preston. So what's going on here, Preston?
Raven's working on a horny toad here.
Yeah?
A small version of it. And so he's just gone through sculpting the head and the body. Now he's just kind of finishing the backside.
It's kind of stretching it out, right? Like toffee?
Mm-hmm. And yeah,
So he's probably going to cut that off. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. These guys have been blowing glass for 30 plus years, all of them, and the skill level is really high. Wouldn't you say? On Raven,
40.
40. He's like 40.
Hey,
Oh, Raven's
give
still
me
the
that 10
baby.
years.
Sorry.
Oh, this is
Keep it
funny.
up, Raven.
It's funny. We figured this out last night. I started blowing glass in 1982,
Uh-huh.
and Raven was born.
Welcome to the club, Raven. Nice. Well, one of the most popular pieces of our exhibits this year was a horny toad by Raven. What did you like about doing the horny toad?
For me, it's just a great challenge in texture and color and form. So I enjoy all those challenges. So when I'm making the horny toad, it's just like I'm really looking. I always like to work from a reference. And I'm really looking at like all the different spines and stuff like that. So this is more of an approximation, but at home I really spend my time probably
Practice,
yeah,
right?
I probably do like 15 hours worth of work on each different part before it comes together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we love your work. This piece will probably have a lot of texture and spines and stuff on it, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna do the fine stuff
as
right
best you
then.
can.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay, let's
Exactly
talk to
right.
some clients over here. So, what do you like about glass?
It's this process, this teamwork,
It is teamwork, huh?
orchestrating it from, he showed us a picture of a horny toad.
Yeah,
That's the end product.
yeah, that's the end product.
Then he started with a blob of glass. How it goes from here to there is a mystery.
It's mind-boggling, but I think what he said is true. It's he's practiced for many years to even be able to do this. These guys have been blowing for a long time. What was funny about Preston's comment when he started blowing glass in '83, Raven was born. So that's interesting too. All right. So what do you think about glass blowing?
I think it's fascinating. I can't believe that they can do what they can do with just a clump of glass.
Well, they make it look easy, don't they?
No, they don't. It's not something I can
Look
do.
at that Raven's arms. It's all muscles over there from
Yeah.
turning the glass. And he did a big turtle. I don't know if you saw it the last few days. But that was probably 100 pounds on a pipe versus this little tiny thing that he's doing now.
Yeah.
So the skill levels are incredible. Pay attention to our podcasts that are coming out. We interviewed Raven, and then we did a really nice podcast with Preston, Raven, and Dan Friday to give you more ideas about what they're doing in glass.
Okay, great.
Pretty cool, huh?
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to talk to one other person over here. Well, hello.
Well, hi there. Hi, guys.
So this is one of our wonderful artists, Robin Jones, and her partner, Zane. And what do you think about glass blowing?
It's incredible. I've never understood how they do this. It's mind blowing. It is. It's so beautiful, and I love watching them work together.
Glass blowing is all about teamwork and getting teams together to have different skill sets to help. In this case, you have three masters.
I know, it's so great to see all three of them together.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
No, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys came. But it is inspirational. But it's no different than you, Robin Jones. It's practice, right?
Yeah.
As an artist, do you find a similarity in that?
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and these guys are masters. I mean, they're just.
Well, would it
it's just
surprise you
inspiring
to tell you
watch.
that they're self-taught for the most part?
Are they really?
They just get in there. There's no schooling, so they just get in there on teams and start from just
Wow.
opening the doors to maybe turning the pipe, and then into blowing or sculpting.
Oh, wow.
So, a lot of these
Yes.
these three artists in particular have worked with Lino Tagliapetra, Del Chohuli, William Morris,
Yeah.
and those are three of the top glass innovators of the last 100 years.
That's right.
So, and these guys are keeping it alive in a native tradition. So,
Yeah.
thank
I
you for
love that.
checking it out. That's nice.
Oh, yeah. I love their work.
So, when is your show? Tell us.
It opens October 27th.
And
Yep,
what
right
is their
here.
show based on? What's the title? Do you have that down yet?
It's called Arctiaia,
Uh-huh.
and it's inspired by girls. Well, it's inspired by a Greek ceremony. It goes back to ancient Greek, pre-adolescent girls, and kind of the wildness of girlhood, and really being in touch with nature, the natural world, and that connection, and holding on to that connection as adults.
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to it. We're excited. Well,
Yeah.
for today, let's just enjoy the glass, man.
It's
That's cool stuff.
fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Goldie, what do you think? So for those of you who've never been to Blue Rain Gallery, this is the main entrance. A few years ago, we decided to do huge poster boards for each show. And these are very wonderful. It gives the artists great advertising and promotion. But when you come in, you'll see beautiful sculptures. This is a piece produced about 25 years ago by Bruce LaFountain. Very, very beautiful. It's repatinized, and so it has really fresh, beautiful look. As well as we have a large number of Allen Hausers in our collection available for sale. This was produced for the Cowboy Hall of Fame. It was an edition of 10, and we are lucky to have one available. And of course, we have the famous Gone Dancer over here. Well, let's go in and let's talk about a few other things. A big part of Blue Rain Gallery is our history, our legacy. So when you come to Blue Rain Gallery, you'll see a lot of the people that helped make Blue Rain Gallery from the start, including Tammy Garcia and Tony Abeda. You will still see a large influence in our gallery based on them. We had a 20-plus year relationship, and so we definitely have a source for people to sell their works. You'll also see a great collection of contemporary native pottery from all the major artists you could think of. Nathan Youngblood, Nancy Youngblood, Russell Sanchez, Lisa and Harlan Holt. Every now and then we get Virgil stuff in. Al Koyama, Margaret Tafoya, Maria Martinez. It's a wide variety. We have over 600 pots available in our collection. So I want to reintroduce everybody to my friend Chris Papan, famous artist over here.
Hello.
What do you do? Tell us what you do. Hold this mic, you can hold it and talk into it. But tell us about what you're doing.
This is my personal take on ledger art, and trying to break from the tradition yet stay within the tradition, and work from old photographs, and also creating some interesting characters to tell modern narratives with my work. So a lot of what you'll see are works on original old ledgers.
Where do you find these ledgers?
These come from eBay, or, online, or Etsy.
You're hunting them down.
I'm looking for things, and then people also give me a lot of things as well. So, and it's funny how people are like, I bought this a long time ago and I thought I would use it, but here, you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, wow.
For the record, outside of Preston Singletary, Chris is one of the most collected artists that we have by museums across the country. And we're very honored to have him always. But he has not reinvented, but he has brought to light a more contemporary version of what ledger art was, right? In a respectful way, honoring his ancestors. I noticed that you have integrated fiber in this recent series. Tell us why and what that's about.
Yeah, so you'd see little bits of fiber in there because I wanted to create a sense of motion, because there's a lot of dance influences in my life, and also in traditional ledger work too. You see a lot of imagery of ceremonies and stuff. So I thought this would be a good way to kind of help bring a sense of movement, but a halted movement, in that there's a photograph being drawn, which is capturing a moment in time. So I'm also capturing that moment in time as well. This moment in time.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful work. One of my favorite pieces is this, though, which is a little bit different than what other things that you've done. And what is this about when you mirror the face?
Oh, that's one thing I've been doing for
a while,
for a long time. And before I started doing the ledger drawings, this was kind of like one of those happy accident moments, but then really developed it into a motif, if you will, in my work of duality of man, or I don't like to say living in two worlds anymore, but having to divide ourselves between whatever, it doesn't have to be a native
Americana and
person.
native, right?
It, being a single parent, or it could be any myriad of things. But what I really enjoy about it, though, is that when the two figures come together, there's that strange, abstract, kind of surreal thing that happens in the middle there, like with the third eye. And for me, that's the most exciting part of doing those. Is that,
Yeah. Well, we'll come back to you in a little bit,
Yeah.
and I want you to talk about that piece Denise is unwrapping. Maybe you could help her,
Oh, okay.
because that's an unusual one. I had to get it reframed a little bit. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about Preston Singletary. So, Preston Singletary, obviously, we were outside, and he talked to us a little bit, but this is his work. Pieces like this is probably one of the more complex pieces that he does. It's a multi-figural rattle. In the old days, even the stem of the rattle used to be in glass. Over the years, for archival purposes, he created this in steel, so it mounts in its very solid piece. What's beautiful about Preston is I have journeyed with him for over 23 years. It's our journey together that has brought contemporary native glass art movement to the Southwest. And who would have thought that? Because the corridor came from the Northwest coast here, but his integration with the Pueblo potters is amazing. And we'll show you some works in collaboration he's done, say with Jody or Harlan Riano. But he's worked with many native artists to produce glass. And in fact, one of our podcasts that will be coming out shortly, when I first started with Preston Singletary, there was only 3 artists. There's Martin Oliver, Tony Hohola, and Preston Singletary. And maybe Susan Point in the Northwest coast up there, but that was more industrial glass. This is hand blown. What makes Preston a pioneer is he was the first Native American to do hand-blown glass with native imagery. And that has propelled him to shows like at the Smithsonian, which was a 10,000 square foot exhibit for a year in Washington, D.C. Not very many living artists can tell you they have accomplished that in their life. One of the wonderful things about Preston, as I described, was collaboration. And this is a monumental piece done with him and Raven Sky River. And Raven Sky River is a new addition to our gallery. I've been watching and working with Raven a little bit here and there over the last 10 years or so. But he is a master of marine form. So it seems like a natural fit for Preston to work with Raven, who's also worked on his teams and in his studios. Raven has also, had a glorious journey, whereas Preston developed his career and was influenced by Lino Taglio Pretra. Raven was actually one of the last members to be on William Morris's team. William Morris was a very famous glass artist as well. He still is. He just kind of semi-retired. All right, let's go ahead and walk over this way. So this is Peter Stessel. He's head of acquisitions and logistics for the gallery. So that's why I have him holding this painting. It's really, but this is a very unusual painting because obviously you know why, has Northwest Coast imagery integrated. So Chris, tell us a little bit about this painting.
So this piece I did for a museum exhibition in Chicago, and I had learned that I was going to be sharing a cabinet space with another Northwest Coast artist, so I thought it would be a great idea to collaborate with him. So he agreed to do that. A very well-known Haida artist by the name of Jalen Edenshaw. And basically the piece is about a complicated relationship that Native people have with museums. You were mentioning earlier that, we're collected in museums, and, that's great and all. But again, there's a lot of issues with museums across the country. And even in this time of reckoning, we're still facing a lot of issues. And it's not easy. I'll just put it that way. So
yeah, well, there's a lot of voices that are in a museum, and that's part of the problem as far as focus. Chris's wife worked in the Field Museum for a long time and helped redevelop that whole section of native vesture, right?
yes.
And what has that turned into at this point? You can go ahead and put that down, Peter.
At this point, it's I'll just say that it's in the museum, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
But as far as what we're doing, we've actually started our own nonprofit Native American arts organization in Chicago. So
Tell us about it.
it's a dream that we've had for many, many years to have our own gallery in Chicago. And during the pandemic, of course, a lot of things happened, and that's when we really started to get it together. Got our 501c3. Now we have the backing of a lot of major foundations, the Terra Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, gave us seed funding. We have space. So we're going to be opening our space, which is devoted to contemporary, futurist thinking Native American artists in Chicago, opening September 16th and 17th.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for the free plug.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck on that. All right. So I'm interviewing Greg Tindall, who's not being photographed. And he is a very special person, and he has a lot of history in the Native art community. He started doing frames for Helen Hardin, all the way down to his daughter, Margaret Tindall. What do you think about Native artists in general?
Oh, I love them.
Yeah?
There's such a huge variety of different Native artists, so there's really something for everybody. And
Yeah.
I've been blessed, like you said, to work with Helen Hardin. I met her first before I met Margaret. She introduced me to her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, she's really beautiful, but she's too young. So she was 17, I was 22. So I waited a few months until she was 18. And then
Nice.
We were together for 24 years, and I did framing for Pablito Velarde. So it's so special to be at the market, all the good memories,
Yeah.
From,
Yeah, Greg has had a 40-plus year history
I'm
framing.
old. Yeah, you're right, I'm
Framing.
old.
Well, a lot of our artists are in the same boat. So he's had a 40-year history of framing Native artwork and a lot of artwork in the Southwest. He's a master framer.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind.
Thank you,
Especially on
Greg.
tape.
Yeah, go to Art Enhancement in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
No, I got enough business. You
He's
keep me
busy.
As busy as I can handle.
Nice. All
So
right.
I'm very blessed to work with the Blue Rain too for years. So
Thank you, Greg. Love you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I know this is a little scattered, but we're just going to do what we're going to do. This is work that is collaborative, what I was referring to earlier, with Preston Singletary and Pueblo Potter. And this is Preston Singletary and Jody Naranjo. And this is what's left of the last show. There was around 22 pieces. We have 6 pieces left. It's dynamic. In Jody's case, it's whimsical. And so the process works like this. Jody designs the shapes she wants and maybe references some colors, and then Preston includes whatever colors he wants. He blows the shapes, and then he tapes it, sends it back to Jody Naranjo, and then she designs on that tape. And she actually likes to do this herself. She actually does the cuts of the negative space, removes the tape, and then ships it back to Preston to sandblast. So these are very textural. It's a little different than Jody's natural surfaces in clay because it's a little deeper carved. But it's very beautiful. If you get a chance to come in here, check these pieces out. They're very beautiful. I want to talk about this guy as well. So this is Dan Friday, who's out there blowing glass with Raven Sky River and Preston Singletary. And he is from the Lumi tribe, which is in northwestern Washington. And a lot of these things that he does are very tribal. Like they were fishermen, and so he creates fish. When they went fishing, they created these anchors to hold the nets down. So these are anchors. Obviously, they're surrounded by wildlife, and also, I don't know that the Lumi has clans like the Tlinkits do, but they are associated with animals and also totems. So you can see beautiful totems like owl totems. He'll do totems with ravens, and it's just beautiful the glasswork he's doing. The fish, if you look at the fish, you'll see a lot of beautiful cane work. Dan Friday has worked with Del Chihuly for the last 15 years in his hot shop. So if you go to Seattle and you visit the Chihuly hot shops, you probably would run into Dan Friday, who still currently works for Del. Just a beautiful, his first show, which is amazing. He never had shown in a gallery before. And about 9 years ago, he showed up to Blue Rain, and we sold over $120,000 in a couple days. We cleaned them out. It was kind of funny. So, but his derivation, so these baskets are named after his Aunt Fran, who is very famous. You can find her stuff in the Smithsonian, but she was a basket weaver from his tribe. Really, really famous. But she inspired him to create these vessels, and that's where he really started, was influenced from his Aunt Fran. Let's go look at a horny toad. These are great examples of hardcore skill set in sculpting in hot glass. Of course, the turtle, but this is the horny toad, which is what Raven is blowing right now. But if you look at it closely, you see all the spines and the color derivations, the eyes, the horns. I mean, it's just a beautiful little figure. We've actually sold 3 of these this Indian market, and very, very popular. With that, let's just close it up and say thank you for attending Indian Market and Blue Rain Gallery.